Hi folks, and welcome to this week's video tutorial. This will be the third video on the Palcorner Cannon Opening, and instead of black countering with the central cannon, in this board, black will counter with the pawn opening. So without further ado, let us begin. Palcorner Cannon, and black would usually play p7+1. Now p7+1 is played instead of p3+1. The main idea or main reason for this move is to prevent or discourage the red horse from developing as a proper horse. Now, if this horse were able to be halted or slowed down in its development, red's entire attack would become greatly halted, and this would be the main reason behind this move, and it is a proven way or method of countering the Palcorner Cannon and has been one of the most popular counters after the central cannon. And since red cannot develop his right horse as a proper horse, he will usually move it to the edge file. Now, another option or another popular option where for red would be to play c equals to 5 for the 5-6 cannons. Now, technically speaking, this would be called the 5-4 cannons, but it will be equivalent to the 5-6 cannons, and this opening variation is usually classified under the central cannon versus screen horse defense or sandwich horse defense section. So it will not be introduced in this section dealing with the Palcorner Cannon. And black would develop his horse as a proper horse since the pawn has been moved. Red would develop his chariot, black would protect the cannon, and red would usually move his chariot to the riverbank. This is a more steadfast approach with a slower but sure pace in the game. R2+6 would be another commonly played variation, which will be discussed in the next board. Again, black would offer a trade of chariots, which usually black would refuse. Now, black would play r2 equals to 4 to target the advisor and strengthen his grip on this file. Now this would be the position of discussion for this board. So, faced with red's r2 equals to 4, there are usually two counters for black. The first would be to play h2+3 for the screen horse defense, and the second would be to counter with the central cannon, since the central pawn was still unprotected. So in the first variation, black would choose a very slow but safe approach by playing the screen horse defense. And black would play the single horse defense to develop his material. Now this would be a meticulous approach to the game, and at this point in time, it would not be advisable for black to play p7+1, because let's say if he did, black could play c2 equals to 1 and develop his right chariot. Now this chariot would become a major threat because red would not have developed his left flank yet, and coupled with the fact that the cannon was now on the edge file, black would have many tactical combinations available at his arsenal to attack, and that is why usually h8+7 will be a better choice in this situation. Okay, and at this point in time we can see that neither color had pushed any piece across the river, and black would start consolidating his defense with e3+5. Now, and at this point in time, red would play p7+1. Red would choose to further consolidate his central file and be prepared to develop his chariot as a kingside chariot. And at this point in time, black would play r8+4. The idea behind this would be to prepare to sacrifice the pawn so that black could develop and activate his horses. Now, if he chose to play r1 equals to 4 at this point in time, red can play c8 equals to 9. So this option will be left open, but it's not so ideal to develop the chariot r1 equals to 4 at this point. So both colors start developing material. After sacrificing the pawn, the horse gets to move to the riverbank, and red will play e7 plus 5 also. Now this would be a standoff situation. Both colors would not have pushed any piece across the river, but at this point in time, red would have the extra pawn and would probably have an easier time ahead. It would not be a good idea for red to play r3 equals to 4 because of c9 equals to 6. So this would be variation A, whereby black would play the sandwich the screen horse defense. As can be seen by the 11th ply, it would be a very calm situation as both colors slowly build up the potential, and the real fight will be in the mid game. So in the variation B, black would adopt a more aggressive approach by playing c2 equals to 5 for the central cannon. Now, as can be seen, because black had played the edge horse, the central pawn was significantly weakened, and if red would be forced to play h8 plus 7, and this would be the single horse defense, which is usually frowned upon in many situations because it has been widely regarded as insufficient enough to deal with the central cannon because of the weakened central file. So both colors would develop their material, and red would try to form a blockade by advancing his cannon across the river. If he did not, red could play r2 plus 4, r2 plus 6, etc., and the space that red could move his pieces would be greatly decreased. And again, by playing c8 plus 4, red will be threatening to capture the central pawn. Now, advancing the pawn at this point would be considered a good move because black would wait patiently for the opportunity to attack, as can be seen, because he had already pushed both pawns. Both horses are now ready to go at any time. It would not be a good idea to play c8 equals to 7, r8 plus 7 now, sorry, because black would protect the cannon by raising an advisor. And although black would try to develop his horse to attack this flank, red could simply play r4 equals to 6, c4 equals to 6, and be prepared to move the elephant to the central file and dislodge the black chariot. And because the horse had just advanced the riverbank, there would not be any good space or many good intersections for this chariot to move once e7 plus 5 is played. So this chariot would become closed, and once it moved away, the horse cannot capture the pawn. So black will go away empty-handed, and this attack will not fall through. So r8 plus 7 would not be a viable option. Instead, p3 plus 1 to wait patiently for the opportunity to attack is advised. Red will consolidate his defense, and at this point in time, black would, in the book, black would play c5 equals to 4. Another plausible option would be to play p9 plus 1, whereby black would start to attack this flank. This was the most given. Red would offer a trade of chariots, threatening to capture the elephant. Now black would capture the central pawn. Now red cannot capture the cannon, or he will lose the chariot. So red will counter in this manner. Black will move his cannon to safety, and red will double down his control of this file, forcing the black chariot back to the corner. Now each color would have his strengths and weaknesses, and it would still be too early to tell who would come out tops, because this would be a very complicated situation at this point in time. So p9 plus 1 is a viable option for black. Now, if for more steadfast approach, c5 equals to 4 is advocated. Now, red will pin the cannon, and the cannon will move away again. Now, after moving away, now the chariot cannot move back, or black would be more than happy to trade material, because this Palcorner Cannon will be one of red's most threatening piece. So red will instead play c8 equals to 7. And after trading away chariots, red will now push trade pawns to activate this horse. r6 plus 2 to threaten to capture the central pawn would not be a good idea, because black will develop his horse, trade away, and this can be seen in the process of doing so. By capturing the advisor, the horse would now be attacking the chariot, and black would be prepared to sacrifice his material to sorry, to clear or break open black's defense. So black would be in all sorts of trouble, and black would have the advantage because he will be prepared to capture the elephant. And once it captured the elephant, r8 plus 7 will now be a very menacing threat, because the edge horse will now be very vulnerable to attack. So black would have the advantage in this situation, and that is why r6 plus 2 to attack the central pawn would not be a good idea. So after trading pawns, the situation on the board is still rather calm, and black will play p9 plus 1 to deny red an option of playing c7 equals to 1. Now this would be an even, rather nearly even situation for both colors. So compared with the first variation of c2 equal h2 plus 3 for the screen house defense, black's c2 equals to 5 variation 2 will be more aggressive, and black will still be able to achieve a desirable outcome. So I hope so. This would be the end of the board. Now let us review the game from the eyes of black. Central cannon and pawn opening. Edge horse, riverbank cannon offering a trade of chariots, and red would attack the threaten the advisor, and black would adopt the screen house defense. This would be variation A. More defensive measures, pushing the pawn forward, and black would be prepared to sacrifice the pawn to try to create a hole in red's defense. Red would push the pawn forward, preparing to develop the horse, and this would be a standoff situation. In variation B, red would adopt a single horse defense, as black would threaten with a central cannon. Red would try to form a blockade, and black would bide his time by playing p3 plus 1 to activate both horses, consolidating the central file, and black would now switch formation. Some nifty maneuvering of the cannon, trade of chariots, and trade of pawns. So at this point in time, black would have shifted to the cross palace cannon formation and be prepared to attack, while red would have an open line for maneuvering of his horse over here. So this would be a nearly even situation, which black can be more than satisfied with. So I hope you've enjoyed this short video. Material on the Palcorner Cannon has always been lacking, but I hope you've enjoyed the material presented here. So until next week, which will be the last video on this opening system, have fun and do play this opening. Thank you. And if you like the work that I've been doing, please do subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up for the video.